Hi, everyone. This is a recording of the story, Allie's story, told two ways. It's an exercise, an experiential exercise to take us through how someone's story may be perceived by a direct service organization versus the person themselves. What we might not be seeing is being weighed in terms of trade-offs and how that might result in different ways of figuring out what to do next. So this is Allie's story, told two ways. This is one way to tell the story, a New Leaf story. 6 months ago, Allie went to New Leaf Recovery Services for addiction treatment. This was a court condition for getting her two kids back. Allie's caseworker noticed that she had bruising on her torso. She said she'd gotten beaten up for drug money that she owed, and that's what made her feel like she needed help. After 60 days in New Leaf's intensive program, Allie was placed in an apartment of her own, the only one from New Leaf to get in. It was across town, so Allie's caseworker gave her a listing of some recovery groups in that area to go to, and suggested she find a new sponsor. She had worked on her sobriety, cut off ties with her family members who were still using, and was keeping busy. Although she missed some supervised visitations and may not have been that serious about getting her kids back, unfortunately, she wasn't able to maintain her sobriety. And after a few months, when she hit bottom, Allie's caseworker worked with her to return to New Leaf Recovery Services, although as day treatment, not residential. The program is working really well for her. It's the only way she'll get her kids back. She knows it and hasn't missed any visits. So just based on that story told that way, something that you could do is you could pause this video, or if you're leading a group, think about, with this information, what kind of plan might you make with Allie in terms of next steps? Now, let's listen to the story. Same story, and told from Allie's point of view. Here's another way to tell the story. 6 months ago, I went to New Leaf Recovery Services for addiction treatment. This was a court condition for getting my two kids back. My caseworker noticed that I had bruising on my torso. I had told her that I'd gotten beaten up for drug money I owed, and that's what made me feel like I needed help. After 60 days in New Leaf's intensive program, I had made some strong new connections with other young women in the program, as well as through recovery groups. I was part of Outside the House. I was ashamed of my addiction, and my family was ashamed of it too. They had threatened a lot of interventions, but they cut me off after I traded my great-grandmother's silver cross for drugs. That was one of the only things that my family still had from our life prior to the United States. As part of my recovery, I began to make amends and reconnect with my family. But I wasn't supposed to have contact with them because several members of my family smoke pot. My sponsor convinced me to attend meetings to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the incorporation of our town. I wasn't really that into the town, but it was something to do. At the beginning, all the professionals were really scary, but then I noticed a couple of them were for my recovery meetings, and then it was a little less scary. I liked that the people appreciated what I was doing. It made me feel like people needed me, like my kids did. After a while, I was able to move into a newly renovated building, which provides subsidized housing for sober adults. I was really worried about being so far away from my supervised visits with my kids, but I tried to take buses and long walks to get to the center. I had to miss a few times, though. I was really lonely and scared in this new neighborhood. I was feeling like a failure as a mom. I didn't know anyone. I was the only Latina as far as I knew, and the guy in the apartment next door kept making passes at me. They told me that if I wanted my kids back, I wasn't supposed to see my boyfriend anymore. No man, no meth, was what I said. But when I reconnected with him, I felt really relieved to see him. And he was so glad to see me. He was a mess and needed me, and so he came to stay with me. It was good for a bit, but he was still using. After a little while, I relapsed and lost my housing and ended up in the hospital. And the hospital called my caseworker. They found my bruises. This time, I decided to tell my caseworker that it was my boyfriend. I had gotten pregnant but he'd beaten me so badly that I had a miscarriage. My father cut me off again, but at least my mom is still talking with me. My mom was the one who took me to the hospital. The priest from when I was little came to see me there. I'm in day treatment 3 days a week. I stay at shelter with my boyfriend most nights. The 150th celebration is in 2 months, and I'm going to planning meetings all the time. I also went back to my church. I started singing in the choir, and last week I got paid to sing in a wedding. They told me that I have an amazing voice. On Saturdays, I volunteer at a food pantry for church members in the afternoon before going to afternoon mass. I found a bike at a tag sale, and I haven't missed a single supervised visit. So, knowing this information about Allie and all that's happening underneath and all the trade offs that Allie is weighing, what kind of plan might you make with Allie? And then think about how does that differ or is the same as your original plan? Another way to think about this um, is Allie in a better place or worse place, even though she's back in the relationship? So that's another question to explore that one can explore with this exercise. So that is Allie's story told two ways. This can be a great exercise for illuminating the kinds of trade-offs that might be under the surface that we might not see if we are not working on seeing the full picture and trying to get at what's happening underneath.